So my name is Katie Hillman. I am a senior UX researcher here at HubSpot. I work on the Marketing Hub team. I'm going to give you a little intro about myself so you guys are feeling comfortable and ready to, give me your input. But I am currently in Washington, D.C., coming to you from the East Coast, but I'm originally from Roswell, New Mexico. So if you were here at the beginning, you heard about our dry versus humid conversation. My interests and hobbies, I love anything active. I do a lot of soccer, CrossFit, lifting. I love to travel. I love to read. So if anyone has any good books that they're reading right now, feel free to pop them in the chat. And I love new restaurants. That's probably my favorite activity and why I love living in a city. So that's a little bit about me. We're going to hop in now to why am I here? I'm mostly here to talk to this awesome group of people. I think that this team did something really special in, bringing you all together and having these conversations every 2 weeks. And I feel really honored to be joining and to get your guys' input. I'm basically here to have a conversation about your experiences and your perspectives. I'm here to learn. The topic is basically about segmentation, and I mean this as broadly as possible. I'm one of the researchers on Marketing Hub, and thinking about segmentation from a really broad perspective is going to help us figure out how we can orient ourselves in the future, how we can better serve our customers for what their segmentation needs might be now and as times are changing. So I would love to think about particularly how marketers think about segmentation, but then how you all use it in general and what might be tricky about it. I'll be asking a series of questions. So most of my slides will just be kind of like a big question and open for discussion. But I want you all to feel empowered to add any information you feel is relevant, even if it's not related to the question, and ask any questions you have along the way. Okay, finally, how should you engage? Please engage as much as possible. I would love for people to come off mute and talk. That would be great. You can ask questions, share your perspectives, whatever. Also, feel free to hop in the chat. I'll do my best to kind of watch it as it's going, but I'm new to this format, so if I'm a little slow, feel free to just come off chat and hop in.
One thing I'll mention there, this is good for all of you to know. There is a raise hand function down in the bottom. If you look at the buttons, you should see raise hand. When you click that, what appears on our side is a little thing, in this case saying Lori Wildman has requested presenter mode. So if I approve that, you would be able to turn on your camera and your mic. And so, Lori, I'm glad you found the button. So if at any point when Katie's talking, you want to chime in, raise your hand and we can bring you on stage very quickly. It is up to you whether you turn on your camera. You can just turn on your mic if you want. And we'll make it as conversational as possible.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so to reiterate that point, please feel comfortable to participate. If I'm the only one talking, this will end very quickly. So I'm excited to hear what you all have to say. The session is about you. This is a great opportunity to share your experiences in a way that'll contribute to Marketing Hub's future development. And I keep track of things on LinkedIn posts and comments. So I know you all have thoughts about this, so I'm excited to hear them live. Also, there's no wrong answers or things you shouldn't say. I guarantee that you know more about this topic than I do. So anything you can tell me will be a huge help. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to have some context about your role and organization. You can feel free to say it when you come off mute or add it into the chat, only if you're comfortable, but it helps me kind of understand, how different perspectives fit in with different, maybe company sizes or different roles. So that would be really helpful. Okay, any questions before we get started? All right, good to go. I heard someone come off.
Nope, you're all good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to start very broadly. To give you a little bit of background on why I'm starting so broad, I started at HubSpot in September, and I did not work with marketers or really in this realm at all before. I was a little bit more in the developer sphere. So I'm super excited to kind of, learn about this area as it's going to be something that I work on a lot in the future. So something that would be really helpful for me is to understand from all of your perspectives, your different companies, your different geographies, like what is segmentation to you? All right, I think you're on mute, Orlando.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Create a group of people that you're targeting to meet certain criteria.
Okay, perfect. That's helpful. Anyone else have any other? Okay, Victoria, you're also on mute.
For me, similar to Orlando, but it's targeting based on a data point.
What kind of data point?
So I just came up rather than just sort of just the type, but basically my definition of segmentation is how you split your relevant data in a system. So it's not necessarily specific to, obviously I see some people are targeting it as sort of like contacts, or they're saying about emails or lists, but for me it's any form of data and how you're splitting it based on attributes. So it could be split in a marketing list, it could be split in a contact list, a company list, a deal list. But that's what segmentation is for me.
Okay, great. All right, that's really helpful. Does anyone else want to hop in here, or do you all want to move on?
Got some more answers in the chat for anyone who didn't come off of mute. So data points, industry title, level of engagement from Laura. Eileen says the right people, part of the right message, right people at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean says recent deals containing certain SKUs, page views, email engagement. And Frank says breaking up your audience into marketable groups using demographics. Oh, okay. Steven says separating data because I have multiple departments using one account.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, perfect. Quick question that's not in my deck, but where do you all get your data that you're segmenting on? Okay, Trisha, I think you're on mute.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that. So our data actually, some of it is sourced. Some of it comes in from, lead or form fills when we promote webinars or data asset downloads or anything of that nature. So it can come from LinkedIn. It can come from a variety of sources.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm doing better at checking the chat this time. Thank you for that before, Deanna. So I also get some lead gen integrations. What kind of integrations do you all typically use? Any favorites?
I'm seeing Zoom info several times here.
6 Sense is on there.
Yeah.
Groups. Okay, great. This is helpful, and I'm going to get more into tools later, so we can hop on to the next question now. So I get what segmentation is, some of the tools behind why you're doing it, but what is the point of segmentation? Why are you doing it? What are your goals? What would happen if you didn't have it? Right message to wrong people. All right, Chloe, I think you're on, but muted.
It has so much to do with not sending to people that are completely uninterested. I do it mostly. I'm an email specialist, so if I just send to every single contact we have, it would first of all spam people, drive them away from our existing channels, and also completely crush our deliverability because we're not paying attention to who is actually interested in that. So for me, the big focus is to get content in front of people who are actually interested in seeing the content.
Okay, that's helpful. I see a lot of, right message to the right person at the right time, and this would be, maybe right message to the wrong person. What are some other metrics other than maybe deliverability that would be helpful to understand if you had, the right segment or the right message, but maybe the wrong segment?
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I think part of it is deliverability, obviously open rates, things like that. Also it enriches our reporting, so it empowers me to report on different segments. So sticking with the email marketing, sometimes I do different reports based on which industry someone's in, and so that segmentation is helpful to look at the full picture of not only how our emails are performing, but which segments our emails are resonating most with.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, talking about segmentation, I feel like I need another word other than segment, because I end up using segmentation over and over and over again. Okay, perfect. This is all really helpful. So it kind of sounds like, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it sounds like segmentation is really at the core of how you reach out to your customers. Does that sound right? It's kind of core to the marketing strategy? Okay, perfect. I got some rightsness. Okay, all right. So now I'm curious, how did your company develop that strategy? Who's involved? What kind of work goes into deciding, I want to divide up these segments so I can talk to these different types of people. I'm curious what goes into that planning process. And Lori, I would also love to hear how people use life cycle stages in this. So it's based on industry, based on donor level, engagement type, sales and marketing workshops, CSO, CMO. Yeah, I guess that's another question. Does that strategy typically come from like the leadership high up C-suite level, or is it more collaborative with different levels of the business, or is it from kind of more, I guess, like I see people that are like doing the segmentation actively every day based on company, marketing managers for products, top down and bottom up, marketing and sales collaboration. Okay, this is kind of an off-track question, but I'm seeing a ton of marketing and sales collaboration, which is a great thing to hear, and I love seeing that, and I love reading that. Is that difficult to do? Like, are marketers and salespeople willing to do that? Is it easy to have collaboration, or are there any difficult points with that? I'd love if someone could kind of explain how it works at their organization. All right, Heather.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So our organization, we have weekly touch bases with our sales leadership where we just solution together between a marketing department and our sales team leadership. And we've brought in our sales enablement team, sales operations, and our CRM teams, all leadership within those respective areas that touch the CRM, excuse me, so that we can, drive more efficiencies for their sales processes overall.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Okay, we got another one. All right, I think you're muted, Celicia.
Yep. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
There you go. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we have been trying many different ways. So we have enterprise and SMB levels. So this is one, I would say, one type of segmentation. Then we start breaking down by industries, life cycle stages, and many other criteria. So we have been trying retail, restaurants, food, many, like property management. So we try to break down by industry. We figured out that's the most effective way, so we can kind of have a better communication, better approach for each one of them with different use cases, success stories, and so forth. So this is the way we work.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was really helpful. Okay, Adam, I saw you hopped on too.
Yeah, I think just kind of going back a little bit towards what you were discussing about how do you make marketing and sales collaborate properly. I think the big thing is properly setting up SLAs between the two teams and really just discovering like, hey, okay, if marketing brings this amount of effort and this amount of work, what is then the responsibilities from the sales team for that handoff and that transition, and just having really clear communication with clear updates. Like someone said earlier too, just having those meetings to discover how can we work better together, right? And I think that's the biggest solution on that.
Yeah, that's really good. How do you go about having those conversations to discuss like a handoff? Like I saw also Petra, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you said you said HubSpot could support marketing and sales collaboration better. I'm curious, like what would those conversations look like? How would it be possible to make that easier within the HubSpot tool? Come on.
Sorry, Celicia. I think I was maybe overeager in turning off presenter mode for you. If you raise your hand again, or I think I can turn it back on. There we go.
Oh, there she is. Okay. This is a spicy one. Okay, Celicia, you're back.
Petra, I'm bringing you on too.
Okay. I think both Celicia and Petra are muted. If someone wants to come off mute first, we can flip-flop. Okay, I can keep talking a little bit while we try to figure out the microphone situation. Yeah, so this issue is an issue that I'm really interested in, and I would love if we could, keep talking about this, get some more people to come off mute, because I think the marketing and sales collaboration is like a huge opportunity for, I'm sure, your teams, and I think it's a huge opportunity area for HubSpot. It would be amazing if we could find a way to kind of like, make sure that the teams can work together, whether it be some type of feedback loop, some type of like facilitation in the app, whatever it may be. So I'm really curious what you all are thinking, and I'd love to spend a little more time on this if people are interested. I think we might still be having some muting issues. But yeah, sharing info is a good way to start. Okay, here's a question that is kind of along the lines that might be a little spicy. Do you think that this changes if, sales teams are also in HubSpot versus if sales teams use a different tool? Like, are there more difficulties there? Are there ways, you could get your sales team to come over to HubSpot if there was better feedback? Like, what would that look like? HubSpot integrated with sales tool, like that idea. Okay, we've got some more people coming on. Just unmute yourselves and we can kind of take turns.
Yeah, hey,
Hi,
this
Matt.
is Matt. I was going to speak to the slide question here, how our company developed their segmentation strategy. And
Perfect,
quite
thanks.
honestly, this particular account that I have in mind, their HubSpot has absorbed a number of different brands, companies, different divisions have used the tool in different ways for segmentation. So their segmentation strategy is a little bit haphazard, and there's a lot of duplicitous properties, potentially redundant properties, and it's a strategy, but it's kind of like it's not unified, I guess. A lot of hands in the pot.
Okay. Why do you think that is? Is it maybe like your company size, or just kind
Well,
of like how fast everything moves?
yeah. So when we started as admins of this account, it was pretty small. It was like maybe 40 or 50,000 contacts total for marketing, right?
Mhm.
And now it's like 10 or 15 times that size. It's just when you acquire another company that's just as large as you are and absorb all their segmentation from like MailChimp or Constant Contact or wherever they had their their lists, there's an effort to replicate the segmentation that they had, right? Because you want to kind of maintain this business unit, till all the strategies that are good are absorbed and understood and everything like that. So the reason, I think, was your question, I think, is just to keep stakeholders happy and maintain momentum with like the segments that they're already performing well with, whether that's geographic or different perspectives on their marketing strategy. I don't know if I answered the question or not.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
In line with Deanna's claim that I click buttons willy-nilly, I've now brought like 5 people on stage, so I don't know what order you all want to talk in. But I'm hoping we can figure it out.
Okay, we have Keisha and Gina with their hands up. Keisha just went down. So Gina, do you want to come off? And
Sure.
Perfect.
So I would say from my side of things, my organization is a B2B company, and we also have 2 separate lines of business. So our segmentation definitely gets very interesting. And within 2 lines of business, we have 4 different products. So we segment by product, we segment by customer type, by business type, by country. We're a global company also. We also try to segment by users in our platforms, who's power users, who are decision makers. There's multiple levels, and it definitely gets very tricky, especially thinking B2B. We're selling to businesses, but we work with agencies and brands. So the contacts might not necessarily be a quote unquote customer, but the agency on a whole is. So we definitely run into a lot of different struggles as far as thinking about how we want to segment and getting all of that information in. Our sales team is on HubSpot. They're also on Salesforce. It's definitely an interesting situation. Sellers are inherently lazy. They don't want to update information in the platform. And when we're requesting so much information, especially like we're using IP address to determine country because we know they're not going to input that into the system. But we definitely run into issues where it's like, is this person a customer? Do they actually know who we are? They tend to not update that information. The only way we're getting that information updated is if we're pulling it specifically from the platform, or if the contact is associated to an opportunity that's been closed won. So I definitely think kind of our sellers are loving the new lead pipeline management piece because it is so automated. So we're getting a lot more real-time feedback and accurate information from them that way. But I think it's finding a way to, I don't know how, but finding a way to implement more automation so that the sellers aren't responsible for always keeping that data up to date.
Okay, that's really interesting. That's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, I think we had Keisha, if you still have a thought you want to talk about. Oh, okay. Okay, Celicia or Petra, do you have any thoughts on, the collaboration with sales that we were talking about? If not, I have another question I can
I'm
hop on
seeing an
to.
error that Petra's mic is blocked by a permissions
Oh,
issue. So I'm sorry, Petra, that we couldn't make it work.
yeah. I'll check out your comments afterwards to make sure I read everything you thought. Thank you, Petra. Okay, Lori?
Yeah, I have just a comment about sales and marketing working together. So our sales team, they do use HubSpot, and we're constantly trying to update them on the changes that HubSpot has made. We have the marketing hub and the sales hub, and the salesmen get a little worn out by all the changes because what the previous person said about how sales doesn't really want to continue to update information in a contact record or a deal record. So we've written all kinds of automation trying to make them only click, as few things as possible, and everything else automatically updates things. So we struggle though with the deal being one thing and the contact being a separate thing. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of a constant pain point because they think they're updating the deal when they're updating the contact, and I'm looking at a contact trying to see something that's in a deal. And that's basically, I have them notify me on everything that they do so I can run back behind the scenes and make sure it's all filled in correctly. So that's my comment.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. And I have a quick follow-up for you. That's really interesting. And I've heard that before, but I'm curious, how does that affect your segmentation? Is it like something happens on the deal side, so it doesn't go on the contact, so maybe they're not on the right lists? Or like, what does that look like from the perspective of trying to reach the right person?
Yes, one of the ways that one of the fields that we use for segmentation is lead status. Okay. And so a lot of things are based around that lead status. And so when we have a deal, or now maybe it's just a lead that that our sales team has actually contacted, they've been in touch with, and for some reason they didn't click the right box that updated the contact record to show this. So my contact record still says that their lead status is not connected. Nobody's connected with them. And so I'm running around doing, trying to scrape up all of those contacts that have not been contacted or connected. And I, pull up a list, get it in front of the sales team, and they're like, what do you mean? I've talked to that guy 5 times, and it's like, oh my gosh. So it makes me think that our data is not right, and it just sends me down a rabbit hole of what can I do better?
Yeah, that's tough. Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Thank you. That's really helpful context for me. I appreciate it. Kyle, I saw you hopped off.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened.
Okay, no pressure. Okay, and I don't want to put Trisha on the spot, but I saw a comment in there about how she needed to be able to present reports to upper management of how a marketing contact progressed through the marketing and sales processes to become a customer. That feels really close to what Lori, the difficulties between the contact and a deal or like a lead object. And I'm curious if anyone else has any experiences with reporting on their segmentation. Like, is there difficulties that come about? Are there things that you like in HubSpot in terms of reporting? Are there other tools you use for reporting? All right, got someone on the hook.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. So I manage 8 different enterprise portals across 8 different countries, and we want to aggregate that data. So we have to take everything out, stick it in a data lake, have a data engineer look at it, see what makes sense, go back to the team, tell them whatever they're doing is wrong, and then build a reporting on that. So basically anything that humans touch, the data is 80% accurate on a very, very good day. Usually it's like 30% right and 90% off.
Okay, that's tough.
Yeah,
okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, because our sales reps are a bit old-fashioned. Some do like really old-style agreements. So like a meeting over a bottle of vodka, sometimes in a gentleman agreement, and they don't log it in. And then finally, we have a new prospect coming in with money, but we have no idea where it came from.
Okay, that is tough. All right. Okay, that's helpful context. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it does seem like there are a lot of outside events and stuff that take place, and trying to make sure that gets in can be really difficult. And I can imagine that would really affect reporting. Okay, that's very helpful. If anyone else has any thoughts here, feel free to come off. If not, I can hop to the next question. This is tightly related to everything we just talked about. I'm going to kind of focus the question down a little bit. So after, you've developed your segmentation strategy kind of, with a variety of ways, I heard a lot of collaboration between marketing and sales. Do like sales teams and marketing teams, do they use the same segments? Like, do they use the same lists or however you go about creating those segments? Or do they have specialized focuses? I guess to kind of bring that question down a little bit, are your segments true across your entire company, or do they vary based on who's using them? Oh yes, that goes back to the contacts and deals. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll take away the list part, and is the same like conceptual group of people, like a profile or an ICP or a persona, is that the same across sales and marketing? Hi, Frank.
Hello. I think it varies. So just for context, I'm a consultant. I work with 7 or 8 different customers, varying sizes. I would say generally, sort of if you think of a org chart or hierarchy in a business, there's like different levels of business have different segmentation needs. Like at the top is like, I don't know, country, very top level, and then it gets more granular. So I think everyone is involved in or has an interest in segmentation. What I would say, and like I said it before, like for me it's lists, like lists. You can do anything you want and report or build lists across objects, and is associated to this and has this value. I think it's a powerful and often sort of underutilized tool. The one thing I'm personally missing with lists is the fact that like I can't freeze them. I can't say those are your segments, do not touch or change them, but use them all. Like this is what you're using to send your email, to build your reports. Like we've agreed on those, whatever it is, depending on the size of the business, 10, 20, 50 lists that are set that you can't change, but you can use. Does that make sense? Because right now it's like I build a list and then I give you list access and you
and it gets
F it
changed.
up, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it would be helpful to have a way to just kind of like create a permanent list of like, this can't be edited unless you have a certain permission or something like that.
Yeah. Well, essentially, I think we have it with a lot of other tools now, or sort of objects where it's like read, write, edit. Sort of. I can't really think of the classification now, but anybody should see it. You should use that segment and do something with it, but you shouldn't fiddle with it. Like it's like this is our agreed segment of industries X and countries Y, and and you can use that to build another list of that or refine it or something. But I think that's like for me that would solve a lot of sort of segmentation pain and having things consistent.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Okay, great. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. All right, Adam?
Yeah, we do a lot of the similar thing with the list. So we actually use multiple lists for the segmentation of what we actually do then too as well is we use scoring mechanisms for an ABM approach to drive different lists. But from those lists, then I use those to create a custom view for contacts for the sales team to use. So then I can add more filters and really define those down into a custom view that the BDR team, the sales team can actually use to actually make it actionable too. So obviously we'll have a back-end marketing part of it, all that. But I don't want them working out of the list. I actually want them working out of the contact view that they have. That's a custom one for them.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to ask a little follow-up question just to kind of clarify my understanding. So do you, like, is the initial list based on companies then, and then you have it attached to contacts, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's multiple different filters that I have for each of those lists. So like, so let's say and we tie it together with life cycle stages too. So a lot of this will drive into life cycle stages. So we have quite a few different custom life cycle stages that identifies top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, the marketing, and then into that handoff into the BDR process. But what we'll do is the life cycle stage will be part of it, which is driven by the actual the score on the company level. So since we are doing, and then it's also based off of multiple different like target account and organizational properties. So we may have multiple segmentation through an organization size based off of also then territory too. So there's a couple different nuances there that we add into those lists to create multiple lists that are kind of the master part of that data, but we segment the data that way. And then we turn it into something where it's a little bit more actionable through custom views.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's smart. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right, great. This kind of segues perfectly all this like list conversation into my next question. I'm a little bit curious, what tools do you use segmentation? Both, HubSpot tools and integrations, other tools. We've heard a lot of things throughout this conversation so far. So no need to feel like you need to repeat yourself. I'll go check through the chat. But I'm curious if there's anything that hasn't been mentioned yet, like ways you like to use HubSpot tools that we haven't talked about, any other things outside that have been really helpful or that you see as kind of like a best-in-class experience for segmentation. I'm curious, like what do you guys use? HubSpot, Excel, HubSpot workflows, import into HubSpot. Okay, I have a quick follow-up question with some of this Excel stuff. What's the purpose of building in Excel first and then importing into HubSpot or transferring into HubSpot? Is it like the collaboration component? Is it the organization component? I'm just kind of curious, like what the purpose behind that is. Sorry, Steve, I think I missed you. If you want to try that again. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so we're using it for indexing. We have mosaics, which is something that we bought on our customers. And then we have transactional data, which is information on what they bought. And so we're trying to find out what customers that we know transactional indexed heavy in one particular mosaic. So I had to do that in Excel, and then I brought that over. So basically, when I have some information in Excel, I'll use it, and then I'll create something and then import it back into HubSpot.
Okay. All right. That's really helpful. Does anyone else have any different examples? I share the Excel so the sales team can work on their lists on specific cases. That makes sense. Native integrations like GoTo, where you can segment by registered attended. I've never heard of that. I'll have to go check that out. UI modifications and data visibility, better chart customization in Excel. That's interesting. Okay. Pivoting makes sense. Zero bounce, Apollo. Okay. Actionable segmentations task. Okay, great. Pivot tables. I've seen that a lot. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, great. I think this one is more of kind of like a quick question, doesn't necessarily need as much conversation. So if anyone wants to come off mute and talk about, their favorite tools, we can have a little bit of time for that. If not, I can hop on to the next one, which I think might be more conversation based anyways. So it helps when I have to update account ownership across multiple people. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, everyone knows what Excel is. That's helpful too. Everyone has access. Okay, great. And feel free to keep popping anything about tools into the chat as we continue to go on. But we'll hop to the next one. So we've already covered this in a lot of our previous questions as well. And so again, don't feel like you need to repeat yourself on anything, but is there anything that we haven't mentioned thus far that does feel really difficult with segmentation, both kind of at two levels? One, doing it in HubSpot, and two, on the more like kind of conceptual level. An example of this is what we talked about earlier about, the like sales and marketing and that kind of stuff. So I'm curious about those two levels. Okay, Laura, I think you're muted still. If you can come off.
Thank you. Here I was talking away. My biggest challenge has always been filtering out the wrong people. Like there's not really a easy, at least out of the box checkbox of like,
don't include these people in my segment list, whether they've opted out or unsubscribed, or they're no longer qualified, or, you know, they're already a customer and this is like the wrong employee at the right place. Like there's no easy way to do that. So like all those different things that I mentioned are 5 different filters that you'd have to remember every single time you create a new segment list. So that's always been my biggest challenge. Even like the unengaged contacts, you know, because then they can end up in your list, and then your conversion rate of your list to email sends, you know, that can like lower all of the numbers across the board when it comes to any kind of, you know, outreach like that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Makes a ton of sense. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm trying to, Lori, okay, you're back. Okay, great.
Okay. Well, sometimes, which this doesn't happen too often, but every now and then one of the sales team will want me to pull out a special list or a special group of contacts that have or have not had a certain activity. Say, you know, that I've spoken to, or that I've left a voicemail for, or that did not respond to that email. And I struggle with segmenting based on an activity.
Okay. What are some, sorry, Lori, I waited too long. I was thinking, what are some things, like activities that might be helpful? Is it like different types of events, or like what are some examples of that?
Usually, well, specifically one salesman recently asked me, he had sent a whole lot of emails, and he was trying to figure out who had responded to the email, and he couldn't figure that out based on what he was looking at. So I was trying to create a list using filters with who he sent the email to, who opened the email, what email bounced, and which it seemed like I should have that ability, but it was really hard for me to come up with what he was wanting me to come up with. You know, who saw the email, kind of thing. And then sometimes with calls, who has a which we have different call outcomes, so I use that a lot. Who had a call outcome of left a voicemail versus who had a call outcome of connected, based on the person that made the call.
Okay.
It gets kind of several layers deep, it seems like, or maybe I just don't know how to filter it correctly. That could be it.
Okay. No, that's interesting. I also wouldn't know. I don't know the answer to that. So that's interesting. But thank you for those examples. That's going to help me kind of try to piece this together later. I don't know if this would be helpful, but I did see that Steve Chappelle mentioned that you should check out the beta for lead scoring that is going on. So there was a hug recording recently on that. Very exciting. So that might be something that might be helpful. Okay, Orlando, I think we have you next.
Yeah, Katie, we don't use HubSpot yet, but I'm curious about the data model, since it's relational. How you do segmentation based on relationships, especially parent-child? Like if you have a deal, and I want to know more about the line item object. Like, okay, you have deals which are, I don't know, like could be orders from what I understand, and if I want to target all those that have bought a specific product, like specific T-shirt or a specific vinyl record, is that possible? Is there a UI tool to do it within HubSpot?
Okay, so you mentioned a beta. Was there a specific beta you had in mind, or is this kind of just a general question?
No, general. So something
okay.
already there.
I actually don't know. If anyone on the line has an idea or has any advice, feel free to come off. I took some notes. Oh, Frank's coming. Okay. All right, Frank. Do you have an answer for us, Frank?
Sort of. Can you just repeat what you want to do again? Like you want to see if someone bought a shirt, which is a line item on a deal?
Sure. Yeah. Precisely. How the line item object works, and to be able to see who bought something specific, kind of just like you phrased it.
Yeah. Well, you can do So I have to give a caveat because most of my work is in enterprise portal. So I always say, yes, you can do this, and then realize not everybody is an enterprise. So that's just a caveat. You can, whenever you build a list, like the first filter option you get is, let's say you build a contact list, and like you're always in a contact object. You can always say, no, I want to look at another object that is tied to this contact. So in this case, it's a deal, and does the deal contain certain line items? So you can sort of, I don't know if this is a right expression or if it's misunderstood in American English, but you can sort of daisy chain your way through different objects and go, well, is this thing attached to a deal that has a line item? And then you want to go, oh, the deal should be closed won. So you can do this, like it's lists. Like maybe we should call this like the list hack. You can definitely do it. Like I've done it as well, where you go, does someone, I worked with a car company, has someone bought a specific car type or brand, and that is a line item property, and that's attached to a deal. So I'm looking for deals that have closed with this specific SKU and which contacts are attached to those deals. Like that's sort of the.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I'm curious if there's a user interface to do that, like with clicks and.
It's your normal list building interface. That's essentially it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool.
Frank.
All right, I love that. A little bit of like collective answers. Thank you. Okay, great. I'm gonna hop to our next question because I'm cognizant of time. Okay, I'm curious. What do you all do with anonymous website visitors, or do you do anything with them? Nothing. Would love to be able to do more. Okay, what would you want to do with them? I guess I mean not necessarily in HubSpot, but outside of HubSpot. Does anyone use any tools to do anything with anonymous visitors? Track them? Nothing if they're anonymous. Okay, Todd, I'm gonna call you out. Why would you not want to do anything if they're anonymous? Context matters. So this is basically, sorry, I should have rephrased this question a little bit differently. I just mean outside of HubSpot. This is something that I'm trying to learn about. Okay, Laura, thank you. And so I'm curious, like, in your day-to-day, is anyone doing anything with them at all?
Yeah, I did this with my last company, and we used ZoomInfo to track that. And I don't know how exactly it works, but basically they just found the company that it was on there, assuming that the company is in market. And then we had this workflow go and pull 5, you can set whatever number you want, but 5 people that fit certain criteria. It pulls it out of ZoomInfo and can push it right into HubSpot to give you a list of the right people to follow up with, regardless of if they were actually on your website or not.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I think so. This is something I'm still kind of learning about, so it's new. But yeah, exactly to what Casey just commented. Clearbit has firmographic enrichment too for anonymous visitors. But basically what I kind of understand is that you can do that at the company level, like Laura just explained, where if someone visits your website, you can, I think, okay, this is recorded, so I hope I don't get this wrong, but like you can use maybe their IP address or some type of information to kind of understand maybe like what company they're coming from, or just some very basic information. And then from there, you could maybe put them in nurture campaigns or see if they come back, or, I'm kind of just speaking now because I don't really know what you would want to do with them. So I was really hoping maybe you guys would have some ideas. So I appreciate that, Laura. That was really helpful. Deanna, knowing you have a large quantity of anonymous visitors might mean you need better engagement. That makes a ton of sense. Segmentation for ads audiences, tracking in Facebook. Depends on the source. I could see how that would make sense. I guess now reading some of these answers, is that like do you all feel like that's a gap in HubSpot? Like, do you wish you could do something like that or have you not really thought about it too much? And it's okay if you haven't thought about it. I'm just spitballing here. Oh, I got a yes. Okay, cool. All right, Laura, thank you. I think you should be good.
Yeah, one other thing that was really helpful with the ZoomInfo workflow is that we could suppress certain people or companies from the list that got pulled in as well. So we could, upload a list of distributors, for example, that we knew we were already working with. So that way, anytime the distributor came to the website, they wouldn't get pulled, new people into HubSpot. But if they were that way our direct sales team could like reach out to the right people without wasting marketing contacts, credits, or whatever on the wrong people or people that were already customers that were visiting our website a lot.
Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna hop to the next question since I know we only have 3 minutes. I hope that's okay, Kyle and Deanna. I think this is basically my last one. So this is the last important one. If you could have AI help you with segmentation in any capacity, it sounded like this is going to be a topic of a future Hug admin session as well, but I'm curious, what would it do? What would be your kind of like pie in the sky? If I could have anything, what would it be? All right, Steve?
Yeah, so if I had to like have my wishes, we create emails. And so I would want to have a look at the email that I'm writing and go, okay, this is this person's, this is for Florida, this is a hotel, and I want to look through my data and find, that they live in Florida and that they like beach or something like that, and then build the segments. Look at the email, look at my data, and then suggest based on the email for that. That was one idea.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, great. Thank you. I also see Jeanette said, Laura said that would be so cool in all caps. That's exciting. Jeanette said, what visitors are the most likely to convert? Okay, great. If anyone else has any quick ideas, feel free to hop off or add them in the chat. If not, I have kept you all captive long enough, and I really appreciate all of your time and input. This has been hugely helpful for me. I'm gonna definitely have to sit with all of this information for a long time because you guys have given me so much to take. So I really appreciate it. And feel free to, reach out to me if anyone has any thoughts. But again, thank you for having me. And this was very lovely. And you all are great participants.
On that, Katie, if people do want to connect with you and discuss more, what's the best way to do that?
So I have LinkedIn. I'm Katie Hillman. I work at HubSpot. And I can also share out my email if that would be good. I don't know if there's like a listserv or if I should put it in the chat, but
I think the chat's probably your best bet. Yeah.
All right. All right. There we go.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. I think this was an enjoyable conversation. I hope everyone had a good time. And yeah, we are exactly on time. Well done. Have a great day, everyone, and hope to see you all back next week.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you all. I appreciate it.